Hello and welcome to wakilsahab.com. Today on the 30th of August 2020, we are conducting our lecture, LFJ lecture number 9. And today's honorable speaker is Dr. Mohammad Shamiullah sir. He is Associate Professor of Law at Presidency University, Bangalore. So today's topic is dispute resolution in India through arbitration. So basically, I welcome you all to today's session. I see a lot of people have turned up. I have seen a lot of registrations for today's session. And I'll just start with the honorable speaker's introduction and I will give over to Shami sir soon. So the first thing is that our honorable speaker has studied LLB from Sri Krishna Devaraya University, Andhra Pradesh, and he has done LLM in the specialization criminal law again from Sri Krishna Devaraya University, Andhra Pradesh, and he has done his PhD from University of Mumbai. So that is the education this honorable speaker has done, and he has been recognized as a PhD supervisor for PhD scholars in Nirma University, Ahmedabad, and also Presidency University, Bangalore. And he has been the head of research center in Institute of Law, Nirma University. He is a member secretary of Institute level research committee, Institute of Law, Nirma University. He has been the board of on he's been a member on the board of studies of Institute of Law, Nirma University. He's being presently he's teaching with Presidency University, Bangalore. Previously he was associated well with Nirma University. He was also the coordinator of the doctoral studies at Nirma University, and he was the course coordinator on arbitration, conciliation, and ADR. He was also the PhD supervisor. He has been the faculty for undergraduate, postgraduate, and PhD level courses in law. He has been a reviewer of research papers in highly ranked Scopus Index journal, and he's been visiting faculty at Adani Institute of Infrastructure Management, Ahmedabad, Gujarat. He has been chief coordinator of faculty development program on alternate dispute resolution, which was done at School of Law, Presidency University, Bangalore. And he has been what do you say developing new curriculum, new instructional programs, like course module, case-based teaching in law, online video lecture series, which has brought a lot of appreciation from management. And he has started residential camps in adopted villages for NSS volunteers, and he has developed and adopted tools like crossword puzzles, quizzes, case study method of teaching for measuring student learner performance and achievement. He has gotten a lot of awards, appreciation for his workshop so far, and he also has been a university topper in his LLM. So there are many more things of this to be said about the honorable speaker, but I will keep my introduction to a minimum as of now. And straight away, first thing is we are really thankful to Dr. Shamiullah sir for coming today and giving his precious time to us. I will straight away give it away to Shamiullah sir. Sir, welcome to today's lecture. Thank you so much for coming, sir.
Yes, yes. So I have unmuted. My voice is audible to you.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah, I am audible to all. So I believe to all the other participants also I am audible. Yeah, if I am not audible, you can text in the chat box also, right?
Yes, sir.
So it's a very lengthy introduction. In fact, I don't deserve that lengthy introduction as stated by Mr. Mehboob. And I'm very happy that Mehboob is our student in his LLB degree from Hyderabad Sultan Ulum Law College. And I believe many of the students have also joined here, and I am seeing many of the faculties also are the participants for the current session. And today's topic for the session, which was proposed and I have agreed to deliver a lecture on this is the dispute resolution through arbitration in India, right? So, am I audible, Mehboob? Can I go ahead? Can I go ahead? Yeah. So, yes, audible, yes. So, before I begin, that dispute resolution through arbitration in India, right? So, I will share my PPT just to give you an understanding as to what is this arbitration, and I am just trying to share this share screen. Yeah. So I hope this PPT is visible to all, right?
Yes, sir, visible.
Yes, visible. Dispute resolution through arbitration in India, right? Now, before I begin, what exactly is this arbitration and what exactly is this dispute resolution mechanism? And I want to give you a brief idea about the status of arbitration data in India. There is one survey conducted by Price Waterhouse Cooper Private Limited, and as per this survey, uh, the attitudes and practices towards the arbitration in India, and this is the topic they have surveyed on. It shows that 61% of the companies out of what they have surveyed had a dispute resolution policy and confirmed inclusion of dispute resolution clause in their contracts. And connected to this same survey, 91% of the companies which had a dispute resolution policy included arbitration for resolution of disputes. Right. So this gives us an understanding and clarity that out of these companies, number of companies they have surveyed upon, let us say 100 companies they have surveyed upon, and 61% of the companies in India had dispute resolution policy and mechanism. And out of these companies which have this dispute resolution mechanism, they, out of this, 91% of the companies had dispute resolution policy included arbitration for resolution of disputes. Okay.
Excuse me,
Now,
sir.
yes, yes.
If you could just press the slideshow button, sir, that will make it full screen. Then after every slide, you can just click it.
Correct, correct. Slideshow. I will just click it. So yeah. Now is it okay? Is it?
Very,
It's your
very
way.
good,
It's
sir.
okay. Yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much.
So this is the first slide. I have given you the clarity. This is a survey conducted by Price Waterhouse Cooper Private Limited, and they have surveyed on certain number of companies. Out of that, it will be not less than 100 companies they have surveyed, and out of that, 61% of the companies confirmed that they have dispute resolution policy, and in that dispute resolution policy they have again confirmed that arbitration specifically they have accepted and they have adopted as their mode of dispute resolution mechanism in their business contracts. Okay. Now the pendency of cases in India. Yeah. As of April 2018, we do not have the data of this 2020, and the data available of 2018. According to this data, this is also for one report which has come in the media. There are over 3 crore cases pending across the Supreme Court, High Courts, and the subordinate courts, which include the district courts in India. 3 crore cases. And as of January 2018, the Rajasthan High Court finally disposed of a 59 years old land dispute. Now this gives us a serious significance and serious understanding as to how and what is the pace of our Indian judiciary and Indian administration of justice on the civil cases. Of course, it is the same pace with which we are going even for these criminal cases as well. Now, specifically, one example, this is the actual case, decided by the High Court of the Rajasthan. It took 59 years old, 59 years to decide the dispute, and the case was considered to be the longest unsolved civil matter of the country. So this sets a record. So almost 3 generations of the litigating family passed away during the proceedings in the case. Right. And I will just show you 3-4 slides of such kind of data, which will give us a clarity on where we are and what is the status of dispute resolution and the adjudication of the litigation and disputes in the courts in India. One such example, that Delhi Development Authority DDA filed a petition before the local court seeking the ownership of a waste land on which properties already existed. After 54 years of legal battle, judgment was finally announced in 2015 in favor of the residents. One more example, Delhi High Court was unable to find a solution regarding a property dispute even after deliberating on for 30 years and passing it through as many as 75 judges. By the time the case was finally disposed of in 2016, the petitioner who filed the appeal in 1985 had already died. So this is the state of dispute resolution, speed and the pace with which we are traveling. And now there is one slide just to have the data of our manpower of the judges in India. There are 220 judges per million. It is, I think, million is 10 lakhs people in India. It is actually 19.58, but I have made it a round figure of 20. So 19.58, which is actual figure. And roughly it is 20 judges we have per million population in India. And if you compare this number, we have 107 judges per million people in US, and we have 51 judges per million people in UK. So this shows us where we are and what is our strength of the judiciary to decide the litigation and disputes. Now coming to the arbitration cases. Around 180 arbitration cases are going on with the claims of highway builders and concessionaires, totaling nearly 71,000 crores of rupees. And National Highway of India has made counterclaims of around 37,000 crores of rupees from these highway builders and concessionaires. This is one, actual the volume and the amount of the claims that are involved against one government machinery, government agency, National Highway Authority of India, which is a department and which is the agency of the Union Government of India. And this with this first example of NHAI, you can actually understand how many departments we have and how many agencies of the government, both the union government as well as the state governments we have. And you can imagine what is the volume and what is the worth of the claims and the disputes that are going through this litigation as well as this arbitration. And recent one case, the tribunal has awarded 18 crore to Jindal Rail Infrastructure Limited in a case pertaining to supply of wagons to railways, and the final award was pronounced by the sole arbitrator. So this just I am giving you to have a brief, idea and understanding as to what is the volume and what is the seriousness of the amount involved in this arbitration claims and disputes. Right now, and I just 1 second. I'll just take a pause here, PPT, and I will again go to your video. Yes, I am unable to. Yes, 1 second. Resume. Yeah. So I hope I am visible on the video. Is my voice audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Now, with coming to again this PPT. Yes. So talking about the arbitration, because our topic is dispute resolution through arbitration in India. We have different types of dispute resolution mechanisms. Apart from the main stream dispute resolution, or we can call it as a litigation, which happens in the court. So whatever happens that out of the court for dispute resolution mechanism, that we call it as a alternate dispute resolution mechanism. And we have alternate dispute resolutions mechanisms, like we have the mediation, we have the conciliation, and we have the arbitration, and we have lok adalat, and many such different modes for dispute resolution are available in India. Now coming to this mediation. Mediation, of course, in contract disputes and in commercial disputes and in the business transactions, mediation will not have any statutory backing, and it will not have any sanctity of the enforceability of the mediator's decision. Now, next, the mode of dispute resolution is conciliation. Conciliation is, of course, consensual, and if both parties agree on the mediator's or conciliator's decision, if both parties give consent for the terms stipulated by the conciliation, then only that conciliation settlement is binding on the parties, of course, when it is authenticated by the conciliator. Now, this is one of the modes of alternative dispute resolution mechanisms, the mediation and the conciliation. Now the third one, the arbitration we have in the list. The arbitration, unlike mediation and unlike the conciliation, arbitration is statutory, arbitration has a legal binding, arbitration has a enforceability of the decision of the arbitrator, of the decision of the arbitral tribunal. Now for this we have in India, we had 1940 Arbitration Act, and we had many lapses and lacunas in this 1940 Act, and finally to have the reforms implemented, now the Indian Parliament has legislated in the year 1996 a new act to govern and regulate the matters related to the dispute resolution through arbitration, that is the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. Through this 1996 Act, presently, which is applicable in India and which governs the dispute resolution mechanism, and presently also in 2020 we are following the same 1996 Arbitration and Conciliation Act for resolution of disputes. Now, a big question arises, as I am seeing many participants here are the very fresh lawyers, very junior lawyers, and many of the participants I am seeing the students, and of course the faculties also. And the point I want to make it here, that what exactly is this arbitration in practice, where and how it happens, that I want to give you a clarity and all the details about this arbitration mechanism in theory and practice, right? Now, what dispute can be referred to arbitration? What dispute cannot be referred to arbitration? Now, there is a test. What is the test? There are two tests. Disputes involving the adjudication of actions in rem as opposed to actions in personam, such as disputes relating to criminal offences, guardianship matters, etc. That is the first one test. And disputes arising out of special statute, which are reserved for exclusive jurisdiction of special courts. Now, if you look at this dispute resolution test, the first test, any action which is right in rem, that means which action gives a right against the entire world, and that dispute cannot be arbitrated, and it can never be referred to arbitration, and it cannot be decided by the arbitration process, and it cannot be dealt by the arbitrator. Any dispute, any action, any claim which gives a right against a person, against an individual, that dispute can be referred to in arbitration. Now, a criminal case, because a crime is not against a particular person, crime is considered as against the state, crime is considered as against the society, crime is considered as against an action against the entire world at large. So, crime, an action against crime, not an action against the person. So, that dispute, that crime, that criminal matter cannot be referred to arbitration. That is the first test. Now, similarly, there are many actions. Say, for example, the personal loss. If you take the marriage, divorce, adoption, maintenance, and legitimacy of the children, and the parenthood, so such actions also cannot be referred to arbitration. They are to be decided by the judicial courts only. Guardianship matters also cannot be referred to arbitration. They are to be dealt by courts only. Second test is disputes arising out of a special statute. I think this is connected partly to the first test, like there is a marriage act in India, Muslim marriage act is there, and Hindu marriage act is there, and special marriage act is there. Any matter, any dispute related to a special statute, that dispute cannot be referred to arbitration. Not only personal matters, you can take the contractual matters also, you can take the civil matters also. Now, for example, property matters. Now, claim of right, claim of title, claim of ownership cannot be referred to arbitration. It shall be referred to only, it shall be dealt by only the court, judicial court, and it is not a subject of arbitration. Now, tenancy, rental agreement, we call it generally, between the owner and the landowner and the premises owner and the tenant. Now, the tenancy matters also cannot be referred to and decided by the arbitrator, because they are controlled by the Rent Control Act. So, any matter which is governed by the special statute, like Marriage Act, like the Tenancy Act, Rent Control Act, that dispute cannot be referred to in the arbitration. Now, what disputes can be referred to arbitration? That's a big question. Any dispute which is not covered by the special statute, and any dispute which is purely contractual in nature between two persons or two parties or two legal entities, that dispute can be referred to arbitration. So, in total, contractual dispute can be referred to arbitration. But in the recent past, jurisprudence has progressed even on the intellectual property rights, IPR. IPR disputes can be referred to arbitration. However, Intellectual property rights dispute means, again, to the extent of the contractual differences, contractual disputes pertaining to the intellectual property rights can be referred to arbitration, but not the ownership of the intellectual property, but not the license granting of the intellectual property, but not the granting of the authority of the intellectual property. Like, who is the copyright owner, who is the design owner, and who is the owner of a particular literary work, artistic work. So that has to be granted by the government, and the arbitrator cannot travel into that ambit. However, he can dispute, he can decide the disputes pertaining to intellectual property rights as well, only to the extent when there is a contractual dispute between two parties or two companies on the terms as to use and the breach and the infringement and the compensation that related to intellectual property, that can be decided by the arbitration, right? And next slide, I am just giving the meaning of dispute. What is dispute? Us are from the Telugu state, the Andhra and Telangana. They can understand. It is called Vivad in Hindi, and it is called in Vivadam in Telugu. And in Urdu, we call it as Takrar Karna. And though I am not expert in Urdu literature, but I have picked this meaning from one of the online dictionaries as to what is a dispute. And it is Takrar Karna, it is a dispute. In Telugu, it is called Vivadam. Right. Now, this we have, of course, discussed what are the dispute resolution models. We have mediation, conciliation, Lok Adalat, and arbitration. Of course, Lok Adalat is a court like body, acts at the regular intervals or whenever it is notified, whenever it is what is called the constituted for particular category of cases or particular day of the week or any particular jurisdiction of the cases, any particular geographical location. The Lok Adalat is constituted, and the Lok Adalat can also decide the cases. However, in Lok Adalat also, the parties will agree for the bargains and the negotiations, and they finally agree on the compromise. Then the Lok Adalat passes its decision that becomes binding. And of course, the topic that is referred to, our present topic, is arbitration, which we are going to discuss in detail in the next. So, giving more details on what is arbitration, now I start with the brief idea as to what is arbitration. Now, let us understand, arbitration is not a court decision. Arbitration is not a decision by the judicial officer who is appointed by the government, who is appointed by the High Court, or who is appointed by the Supreme Court, or who is appointed by the state government or the union government. Arbitration is completely private adjudication. It is a private adjudication. Now, here the judge is a private judge. Now, judge is called arbitrator. Who appoints this judge for the purpose of arbitration? The parties will appoint the arbitrator. Now, disputing parties will appoint the arbitrator to decide their dispute to be resolved. Now, it is a private adjudication, and it is a purely private proceeding where the dispute is heard by the arbitrator and by the arbitrator. Now, how dispute is referred to arbitration? Disputes are made out by the parties to contract. Now, there is a contract. I will give you the practical aspect of how the disputes are made out and how the disputes are referred to the arbitrators by the parties. Now, you may be knowing, and you may have seen many companies in Hyderabad, in Bangalore, in Delhi, in Mumbai, in many parts of the many metro cities. We have big companies. If I can name some companies like infrastructure companies and construction companies and marketing companies, like that very famous company L&T, Larsen and Toubro, Gammon India, Reliance Infra, the HCC, Hindustan Construction Company, and you have JP Associates from Delhi. You have Subhash Marketing from Bangalore. You have Punj Lloyd, and local companies like we have in Hyderabad. If I can name Ramki Infrastructure, many of the participants would know Ramki Infrastructures Limited. That is one construction and infrastructure company, and there is one company CL, right? And GMR, very popular company in airport and aviation infrastructure and aviation that construction management. GMR and GVK, many such companies are there. And if you travel on the highway, you happen to see many road construction companies and road infrastructure companies. Like, for example, NHAI, National Highway Authorities of India, which is the government company, government agency. And if you cross any toll through this national highway, you happen to see L&T as a operator and as a maintainer of the toll. And you have the what is called this Reliance, and you have the HCC, and you have Navayuga, right? And many such companies are there. And these all companies are into construction and infrastructure business, right? Now, for example, if you take the aviation companies, right? Jet is there, and then the what is called the Boeing is there, right? And GE is there. Many such companies are there. Every field, these companies are doing businesses, and when they do business, they happen to enter into many commercial transactions, many commercial dealings for supply and for manufacture and for construction and for execution of their works, right? Now, you can also witness many of the urban construction and housing companies also into the construction of the housing accommodation, housing flats and housing plots for residential purposes, right? So all these companies, of course, I have given a broad list of companies in infrastructure and construction field, and if you take in many different categories, like in finance area, there are many big companies, like you have HSBC, you have HDFC, you have ICICI, and many such financial and banking companies are there, and consumer durable companies are there, right? All these companies happen to enter into contracts for their supplies, for their manufacture, for their third party agreements, and for their building lease agreements, and for their building developments and setup of establishment of the infrastructure, and for carrying out of the day-to-day operations. And when you take these the category of the pharma companies, how much infrastructure they require, and not every company manufactures, markets, and takes care of the each and every activity from raw material to finished product. They outsource these activities, right? So in that case, and if you take the power generation companies require huge machinery, heavy machinery, and they order. Some companies will manufacture, and some companies will outsource, some companies will supply. So these are all the different of the business activities involved. Now I can give you the list of activities, like, if you want to lay a new railway track in India, say for example 100 kilometers new railway track is to be erected and established. Now the union government, through the particular zonal railway department, it calls for a tender. Same is the case when a new road is to be installed, a new road is to be developed, and when the existing road is to be converted into double lane or four lane, or many such development activities involve these business people like contractors, right? So all these activities involve the contracts. Now if you can imagine constructing a um, new railway line, new national highway, and constructing a bridge, and constructing a tunnel, and constructing the seaports also. See, you can imagine how much amount and how volume of work is involved to develop a new port, right? And we have many ports in India which are privatized also. One such port in Tamil Nadu, we have best example, Karaikal port. Karaikal is a complete private port. It is owned and operated by a private company in Tamil Nadu. But that entire domain is the union government's domain, but it has given on contractual terms to the private developer and operator. Now you can imagine in many foreign countries, we have privatized airports also. We have privatized airport operations and maintenance and development. So I have, of course, I believe I have given a broad list of business and commercial activities involving in the volume of the money and volume of the work that is involved in this execution of the works, right? You touch any subject of the airport or the seaport or the railway line or the national highway, it will be not less than 500 crores, 1,000 crores, and 3,000 crores, and 5,000 crores, like, And I have seen one recently. Many of you, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi has inaugurated one longest rail come road bridge, that is called Bogie Beal in the northeastern India, in Assam, a rail come road bridge. It is as of today, it is the longest road come rail bridge. After construction, the distance of 100 to 150 kilometers is reduced to that to establish the linkage between two territories in the northeastern India. Do you know how much money is involved in this Bogeybill project? When it was called for 10 years before, it was around 10,000 crores. But by the time it is finished, it is executed completely, it is inaugurated, it went up to around 25,000 crores of rupees. And what is the purpose? Why I am giving all these lists means, you can see the data without any exception. Almost all, with a great confidence, I am able to put before you, almost all these contracts end into disputes, end into claims against the owners. Owners means the government, the state government or the union government, or any other party who is a owner, who is called a land owner or the project owner. Now these disputes involve thousands of crores. One project I have given in one of the slides. I will give you. I think somewhere I have given. Yes. Given, yes. Yeah, this only, yes. So, not this one. Yeah. There are 180 arbitration cases going on against one agency of the government, that is National Highway Authority of India. You can imagine each case will be, minimum of 500 crores, 200 crores, and minimum, 1000 crores also. There are many companies from Hyderabad, many companies from Delhi and Bangalore. They have claimed against the National Highway Authorities of India about 1000 crores and 2000 crore claim. And best example for this volume of the claim that came against the government of India, for example, this best example is Delhi Metro. Delhi Metro, DMRC, that there is a metro connected to the international airport. That is developed by the private company, Metro Line. And then when the project was completed, it has raised almost 4 times of the amount as a claim against this government of India, that is Airports Authority of India, right? So this is the seriousness and volume of the claims that are made in this arbitration. Now, where we are at the, what is arbitration? Again, what is arbitration? Arbitration is a private adjudication. It is held by it is done by the private adjudicator, who is called the arbitrator, and the arbitrator is chosen and appointed by the parties who are the litigating parties, who are the disputing parties. We should not say litigation, because litigation, whatever happens in the court and in the court premises, that is limited to the court only. That is called litigation. When any matter that is referred to outside the court, that is called a dispute resolution. So dispute resolution is done by arbitrator, and the arbitrator is appointed by the parties. Now, what is the mode of initiating the arbitration? What is the first point of initiating the arbitration? Now, there is we all know that there is a business contract. Business contract involves around hundreds of pages. It is not simple 1 or 2 pages document. It is hundreds of pages document, having many terms and conditions, many stipulations, many bargains, many conditions and warranties, many rights and obligations, many duties and rights are agreed into between the parties to any business contract. Then that business contract runs through hundreds of pages, right? Whenever there is a dispute between two parties, dispute as to delay, dispute as to money, dispute as to compensation, dispute as to breach of contract, dispute as to failure to execute the agreed obligation, dispute as to delay in completing the work, and dispute as to interest on the compensation, dispute as to foregoing or losing of the opportunity to do business. Many such disputes are made out in the contract. The very best example is there are two parties, X and Y. Now they have a contract, the contract of say 50 pages or 100 pages. Now a contract is for 1000 crores. What is the contract? Contract is to build the 100 number of houses. Now the X has given that work to Y. Now Y is a contractor and X is a owner of that entire work. Now there is a contract. Mr. Y has to execute the work, and X has to pay the remuneration, pay the charges, pay his agreed fees, right? Now in this, many conditions are written, agreed upon between two parties. Now any of the party breaches, any of the party fails, defaults, delays, and any of the party refuses to perform the agreed obligation, then the aggrieved party, the party who has suffered, the party who is at loss, upon such refusal, upon such default or delay or failure by the other party, can refer the matter to arbitration. How? Now in our example, X and Y, X is a owner, Y is a contractor. Now Y has completed, X has not made the payment. Another example, X has paid the remuneration, X has paid the consideration, but Y has failed to complete his work in time. Or third example, X has paid money, Y has also completed the work, but with delay, right? Now, another example, X has paid money, Y has completed the work in time without any default, but there is a damage, there is a deficiency in the work. It is not done as per the specifications agreed in the contract. It is not as per the technical standards and specifications agreed in the contract. That is a dispute. Now, X may have dispute against Y, Y may have dispute against the X. In such condition, in such state, any disputing party will ask the other party to remedy that defect, to repair that damage, to attend to that particular default in a given time by the disputing party. If the party who has breached, who has failed, who has defaulted, who has made deficient work fails to respond to, fails to honor to the demand raised by the disputing party, then the disputing party will write a simple letter to the other party. Now in our example, X and Y, Y has defaulted. Now X will ask Y to remedy it within 1 month of time, within 15 days of time. Now when Y does not honor, when Y fails to do that remedy, then X will make out a dispute against the Y. Now that is what is making out of it. Now another letter will be written by X to Y saying that this is the dispute I had notified to you, I had brought to your knowledge and information. I have also requested you to remedy that particular defect and deficiency or damage or any such kind of lacuna in that execution of the work. Then you have failed to remedy that particular work within the given time. Now I am referring to this dispute to the arbitration. So this is one letter making out of a dispute against Y, which is addressed to Mr. Y, is shot by Mr. X. Now, for doing all these things, the very base, very edifice, very central point of this entire arbitration mechanism is arbitration agreement, arbitration clause. We need to have arbitration agreement or arbitration clause in the business agreement. As I said, X and Y have the business contract of 1,000 crores where they have agreed to construct 100 number of houses. In that business contract, that contract is running up to 50 pages or 100 pages. One of the terms, one of the clause, one of the numbered condition in that business contract is about dispute resolution. Now, to refer the dispute to the arbitration, we should have arbitration agreement, we should have arbitration clause in the business contract. Now, what I am saying is two terms I am taking here, business contract and arbitration agreement and arbitration clause, right? Why I am saying these two terms, arbitration agreement and arbitration clause? Arbitration agreement means a separate document where X and Y have agreed to refer their dispute to arbitration. That is called arbitration agreement, which is defined and explained in section 7 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. Another thing is arbitration clause. Arbitration clause means in the given contract, in the business contract itself, the parties agree in one simple paragraph or in simple two or three or in one page of the same contract, they continue to agree as one of the terms of that contract to refer their dispute to arbitration, that is called arbitration clause. Now, as per the law of arbitration, whether you have arbitration clause or you have arbitration agreement, both are valid to refer the dispute to arbitration, right? Question may arise: what if what if the parties have entered into a business contract, as in our example, X and Y have entered into a business contract of 100 pages for 1,000 crores of worth of business contract, but they have forgotten to enter into arbitration agreement or arbitration clause. They have not written arbitration clause in their business contract. What if any dispute arises? Can they refer the dispute to arbitration? At the first instance, it is not a right of the parties to refer the dispute to arbitration. However, if both X and Y agree afresh to refer the dispute to arbitration, in that event, both X and Y shall have to enter a fresh arbitration agreement or arbitration clause in a new document, in a new paper, and signed by both parties. That becomes a arbitration agreement, arbitration clause as per section 7 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. That gives a way, that gives a roadmap for initiating the arbitration process. Thereafter, they can very well refer their dispute to arbitration, even if they do not have the arbitration clause or agreement in their business contract, right? Now, after making out of the dispute, the disputing party writes to the other party that this is the dispute made out against you, and I have asked you to remedy it and to correct it and to attend to it. You have failed to do this, and this is a dispute against you. Now, as per so and so numbered clause in our business contract, as per so and so dated document which is called arbitration agreement between two of us, I am invoking, I am referring that clause or that agreement for the present dispute, whereby I am referring this dispute to arbitration. Now, the first part is over. What is the second part? Now, where should they refer to? Whom should they refer to? Now the question arises, whom should they refer to? Who is the arbitrator? Now, if the parties have agreed in their business contract more about the arbitration process and arbitration mechanism, if they have named any arbitrator, if they have set any procedure of arbitration proceedings or mechanism or methodology, or if they have agreed on any third person to be their arbitrator for a future dispute, in that case, the dispute shall be referred to that arbitrator or that institution which can act as an arbitral tribunal or as an arbitrator. Now, if they have not agreed on the mechanism, on the procedure of arbitration, then again they both can afresh enter into arbitration mechanism as to who shall be their arbitrator and who should be what should be the institution of arbitration, or who should be the individual to act as an arbitrator. They can agree afresh and refer their dispute to arbitration. Now the actual dispute arises. Now, in example, X and Y are disputing parties. Now if they have agreed already that so and so retired judge to be our arbitrator, or so and so advocate to act as an arbitrator, or so and so chartered accountant to act as an arbitrator, or they have not named any person, but they have agreed on some qualifications of the arbitrators. In that event also, they can refer their dispute to as per their agreed qualifications. They can appoint that particular person as per their agreement as an arbitrator. Now, When they have not agreed on the mechanism of arbitration, now what happens is the disputing party, Mr. X, will ask that to nominate one arbitrator on behalf of Y, so that also can nominate his own arbitrator on behalf of himself. So X will nominate one arbitrator and Y will nominate another arbitrator. These two appointed arbitrators will choose the third arbitrator, who is called presiding arbitrator. Then that arbitral tribunal of 3 persons will become a arbitral tribunal, and 3 persons will hear the dispute, and majority of the decision by the majority of the 3 will be a decision which is called award, and for the purpose of this arbitration, right? If 2 parties have agreed for only one person as a sole arbitrator, then that is also very well possible. The 2 disputing parties can refer their dispute to sole arbitrator, and only one arbitrator, as per their agreement in the business contract, or as per their agreement in the arbitration agreement, as per their agreement in the arbitration clause, they can refer the dispute to sole arbitrator, and sole arbitrator will decide the, only one arbitrator will decide the dispute and gives the award. When the 2 parties have not agreed on the sole arbitrator, then it is arbitration by 3 parties, 3 arbitrators. Each disputing party will appoint one arbitrator. These 2 appointed arbitrators will again in turn choose the third arbitrator of their choice. The 2 arbitrators have to further agree and concur on the third party's appointment, third arbitrator's appointment. Then only a tribunal can be constituted. Sometimes what happens, each party will appoint one arbitrator on their behalf, but these 2 appointed arbitrators may fail to concur on the third arbitrator. In that case also a dispute arises. Tribunal cannot be constituted. That case, section 11 gives a remedy for the arbitrator by the court. In that event, these disputing parties will file an application in the court of law under section 11 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act for appointing the arbitrator. Now the court will take care of the appointment of the arbitrator. Once the appointment of arbitrator is done by the court, again that arbitrator will hear the dispute. That arbitral tribunal will hear the dispute outside the court, and they will have every authority to deal on the dispute, on the merits and the facts of the case, and they will finally pronounce the decision of their reasons, and it is called a speaking decision, speaking award, reasoned award. That award is nothing but a decree, judgment of the civil court, right? This is how the dispute is referred to arbitration, and how the arbitrators are appointed, right? And there is a small information on the appointment of arbitrators as well. Now, number of arbitrators. How many number of arbitrators? As per section 10 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act, the number should not be even, it should be odd number. It should be 1, it should be 3. It should not be 2 number of arbitrators, or it should not be 4 number of arbitrators, because the majority's decision cannot be decided if you have the even number of arbitrators, but only odd number of arbitrators are permitted as per section 10 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act. What are the qualifications of arbitrators? As per the 1996 Act, qualifications of arbitrators are not fixed, are not given, and no qualification is required, and even a person without any basic qualification, basic educational qualification, or basic educational technical qualifications also can be appointed as an arbitrator. It is all the autonomy of the parties whom they want to have their dispute to be resolved by. It is the autonomy and complete discretion of the parties. However, if the parties have agreed any qualifications, any technical specification, any technical experience or qualifications for the arbitrator, if they have agreed in their business agreement, in their commercial contract, then the appointment of the arbitrator shall have to comply those qualifications. If the parties have agreed that our arbitrator shall be chartered accountant, or our arbitrator shall be a medical professional, our arbitrator shall be a legal professional advocate, or our arbitrator shall be a retired judge, then only that particular qualified person can be appointed as a arbitrator, and otherwise it will be a invalid appointment. As per the Act of 1996, there is no qualification prescribed in the Act that a arbitrator should have. No qualification is prescribed. And with regard to remuneration, it is decided by the party, and it is borne by the parties, and it is of course negotiated, and it is fixed by the arbitrator, because it is the fees and the remuneration of the arbitrator. Arbitrator will quote his fee, he will fix and decide his fees, and the parties will bear that fees. That is how the arbitrator's remuneration is taken care of. Now, appointment of arbitrator can be challenged. Of course, when there is a bias, when there is a partiality, when there is a questioning of the independence and the impartiality of the arbitrators, like arbitrator is related to any one of the parties, arbitrator is related in the business of one of the parties, arbitrator is related to the any employment of the parties, then such things will give rise to partiality and the biasness, then that will lead to injustice. Then on that ground, any party who has knowledge about such biasness, partiality, can challenge the appointment of the arbitrator. But where should the party challenge? Now, the beauty of this Arbitration Act is the appointment of the arbitrator shall be challenged before the arbitrator himself. The appointment of the arbitral tribunal shall be challenged before itself. Now, when the party who alleges any biasness, partiality of the arbitrator or arbitral tribunal, when he files an application of challenge under section 13 of the Arbitration Act, now it is the very arbitrator who is the subject of challenge, the very tribunal who is the subject of challenge shall have to decide that application. It may decide in favor, it may decide against that application. Even if they decide against the application, the arbitrator can proceed further, go ahead and reach to the stage of award, and they can pass the arbitral award also without having any regard to the challenge application. However, this challenge made under section 13 becomes a ground under section 34 to challenge the award after the award is passed. That is, of course, the very last step of going appeal against the arbitral award, setting aside the arbitral award mechanism. Right now, if the challenge application is in favor of the applicant, then that arbitrator shall have to walk out, and his appointment as an arbitrator gets terminated because the party's challenge is decided in the party's favor. Then arbitrator will have no jurisdiction no authority to deal that dispute. Only if the arbitrator decides against the application of challenge under section 13, then the arbitrator can continue with the dispute, and he can decide the dispute, he can hear the matter, and he can go up to the award, and he can pass the award as well. This is the mechanism of the process of arbitration proceedings as to the number of arbitrators, qualifications, remuneration, and challenge to appointment of the arbitrators. The very advantage of this arbitration is the parties who are disputing themselves have autonomy and authority, and they have discretion to select and choose the arbitrator of their choice, of course with the consent, and they can have the expertise of the arbitrator as well. Now, what happens is, if you look at the adjudication of litigation in the court of law, what happens is all judges are legally qualified, they are with the law degrees, but they are not experts in many technical and engineering and many such disciplines. Like when you have a marine engineering dispute, when you have an aviation dispute, when you have a medical equipment, medical diagnostic equipment dispute, medical diagnostic imaging or that radiation, MRI and all these things, big machinery, they cost crores of rupees. If any dispute arises in the maintenance, in the operation, in the supply, in the sale, in the manufacture, in the defect, then the expertise of that particular discipline and domain is required. Expertise of aviation, expertise of shipping, expertise of marine engineering, expertise of structural engineering, that is required to decide the particular nature of dispute. Now, if you think of the judicial courts, we will not get that kind of expertise. However, when you compare this arbitration with the adjudication of the dispute, adjudication of litigation in the court of law, the expertise is possible. Expertise arbitrator is available in the arbitration to decide that particular dispute. And now you have many disputes involving the accounts, finances, books of accounts, balance sheets, right? You have the income tax disputes. All these things require the expertise of the chartered accountants. You have the expertise required to decide such disputes, the expertise of the financial analysts or financial accountants, cost accountants, chartered accountants, management accountants. And when you have any dispute related to medical field, you need medical expert to decide and understand that particular dispute. Engineering contracts, construction contract, all these things, electrical projects, power generation projects, power distribution projects, right? All these require a specific engineer, specific qualified person, which is quietly possible in the case of arbitration mechanism, arbitration process. However, this is not available in the adjudication as it happens in the court of law. Now, what is one more advantage? Of course, the parties can decide the place, and the arbitrator will decide the place and venue of the arbitration, and the parties can agree on the place of arbitration. Now, for example, X and Y, they have business contract. They are doing business out of, sitting in Hyderabad. One is in Hyderabad, one party is in Delhi. Then they can agree to have their dispute to be resolved sitting at Bangalore, sitting at Chennai, sitting at Delhi, sitting at Hyderabad. But they have to agree where shall the arbitration proceeding should be held, that they can agree on. That place of, convenience of place where they can hold the arbitration, that is also possible in the arbitration mechanism. Of course, interim measures are there. Interim measures means the measures, protections, safeguard the property, safeguard the money, safeguard the value, safeguard the interest of the parties in the dispute. What happens is when there is a dispute, disputed party, a disputed property is there, disputed subject matter is there. You may have buildings, you may have vehicles, you may have what is called the commercial vehicles. You may have many machineries, you may have many materials also. There is a sand, there is a cement, there is a steel, and there is a many such materials like, what is called the equipment or any such machinery, heavy equipment, tools and all these things will be there. And all, if you happen to see these big constructions on the highways and the airport constructions and railway constructions, you happen to see many procliners, big cranes, bulldozers, and all these things are there. So all machineries are the subject of dispute between parties. What happens is, the moment the one party senses that the other party is going to initiate the arbitration mechanism, immediately the party who is having the control of that machinery or any property of the subject of the dispute, he will try to alienate that property. He will try to dispose that property. He will try to reduce the value of that property. He will try to what is called the liquidate that property, and he will go against the interest of the disputing parties. In that case, what happens? The disputing party may not have any property, any subject matter available to realize his claim or debt against the other party who is at fault by the time the dispute is resolved. But he has to protect that property. He has to safeguard that value of machinery, material, equipment, tools, all the subject matter of the dispute till the dispute is decided. He has to safeguard, he has to what is called detain, he has to take into custody of that particular subject matter of the dispute. For that, the interim measure can be sought by either by the arbitrator or by the court. Section 9 interim measures by the court. Section 17 interim measures can be ordered by the arbitrator. So during the proceedings, before commencing the proceedings, a party can go to the court of law to get the interim measure order, protecting or detention or taking custody or appointment of guardian for the purpose of minor or unsound person for participating in the proceedings of arbitration. All such interim measures can be ordered by the court under section 9. And during the proceedings of the arbitration, section 17 gives power to the arbitrator to order interim measures to take care of such properties which are subject matter of the dispute. Now, finally, once the arbitrator hears the dispute and he will pass a decision, he will give his decision. That decision is called award, and that award is equal to the decree of the civil court, which can be enforced and executed against the party, against the judgment debtor, as if it is a decree of the civil court. And that award, of course, is explained in section 31 of the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. What are the elements of award? Award shall be signed, award shall be in writing, award shall state the reasons, and award give a brief facts and the reasons and what is the rationality of the decision, and ultimately it should be signed by the arbitrator. Now the question, on what should the award be written? On what should the award be written? Award can be written on a white paper. Award can be written on a stamp paper. Award shall be stamped as per Indian Stamp Act. Award attracts stamp duty. Award shall be stamped. Now, if the award is passed written on the white paper, it should be authenticated with the stamp duty. If it is already written on the stamp paper, then it is valid. How much stamp duty for the award? It depends on the how much of the claim granted awarded by the arbitrator depends on that stamp duty, that value as per the Stamp Duty Act. Now, it should be in writing, it should be signed, it should give reasons, and it should be signed by the parties, right? This is what is there in section 31. After award is passed, the award shall be, award copy, certified copy of the arbitral award shall be sent to the both parties, and the original award is always with the arbitrator. Only certified copies of the arbitral award will be sent to the parties, disputing parties, and that certified copy of the award is enough, is valid for execution of the arbitral award, right? Now, setting aside is of course going against the arbitral award, appeal against the arbitral award, but it is not the word appeal which is used in the Arbitration Act. It is the setting aside of arbitral award, the word which is expression, the term used in the section 34. Setting aside means appealing against the arbitral award. The party against whom the arbitration award is passed, he will go for appeal under section 34. Now, unlike the court, one second, let me see the chart. Yeah. Yes, one second. Yeah, unlike the court, yes, unlike the court appeal, section 34 award, section 34 gives very limited grounds for setting aside of the arbitral award. What happens in court, whenever you have a decree judgment in the court, you can immediately think of going against that decree, against that judgment in the appeal in the higher courts. And generally appeal, you will go on the merits of the case, right? Appeal on any of the grounds of the case. But here in appealing against the award, never on the merits of the case, never on the facts of the case, only on limited technical grounds that a party can go appeal against the award under section 34. What are the grounds? Of course, there are very limited grounds are given, like appointment of arbitrator is not as per the procedure agreed by the parties. That is one ground. Now, dispute referred to arbitration is not arbitrable dispute, like I discussed in the very first slide. What disputes are arbitrable, what disputes are not arbitrable. Then, if the non-arbitrable dispute is referred to arbitration, that is also ground for section 34. Now, a arbitrable dispute is referred to arbitration, but arbitrator has exceeded deciding the dispute. I mean, a dispute which is not referred to is also decided by the arbitrator, then that is also a ground for arbitrator's award setting aside under section 34. Now, one more ground is, if the award is against the public policy of Indian, public policy of India, or the the basic principle of Indian law, then also the arbitral award can be set aside under section 34. Now, principles of natural justice, like party was not given opportunity to present his case, party was not given the notification or information of the arbitration proceedings, that is also a ground for setting aside of the arbitral award under section 34, right? So this is what the about award. And of course, due to, I can go on each and every section on this arbitration process, but I have come to the end of this slide, and finally I hand over this session to Mr. Mehboob to coordinate for any doubts of the participants, and participants are very welcome to raise any doubts, and I will be happy to answer those queries and doubts by the participants. And over to Mehboob. Mehboob?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Kindly close the screen share,
I will
sir.
stop the sharing. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And it was a fantastic lecture, sir. We are getting the thoughts back of the time we were studying under you. So I have been getting feedback of today's talk also through chat and other places. You have been speaking, things in a very simple, clear, easy way, and students were enjoying all the talks so far. I'm really happy. A lot of participants are still present with us. So I would request the participants to, number one, put your questions in the chat box. That is one way. Number two, if you want to open your videos and ask questions, you're allowed. And if you want to use your mic, you're allowed. I'll just check out the chat first, and then I will come to you. Just hold on.
Can I read? Can I read some queries are there? So
Yes, sir.
Arif Muhammad, Arif, Assalamu alaikum. Walaikum salam. Then Lakshmi, good evening. And then Madhavi, good evening, ma'am. Vinay Kumar, good evening. Tahir, good evening. Rakesh, and then a query is 1 second. Let me one query. I saw this query related to challenge. Yeah, Krishnakant is that participant there? I think I hope he is there. Krishnakant, he gives a query. Good evening, sir. How arbitration technique enforceable and can it be challenged? Can be can we go for appeal to any of the courts? Yes, of course, I have clarified on what is the appeal mechanism under section 34. Award can be challenged, but the strict word which is used in this section 34 is setting aside the arbitral award. It is not called appeal, it is not called challenge. You can challenge the appointment of the arbitrator. You can appeal against the order of the arbitrator or against the interim order ordered by the under section 9. That is appeal under section 37. So interim orders by the arbitral tribunal, interim orders by the court under section 9 and 17, as I explained, are appealable under section 37. What I am saying is interim orders are appealable. Award is also appealable, yes, but the word used in the act is not appeal. The appeal action against the award is called setting aside the arbitral award. That means invalidating the arbitral award. If that you can file in the court of law. Which court? Yes, that is the very technical query, very important. Which court the appeal can be filed? That is the case. Section 2(1)(e). Section 2(1)(e) explains which court has permission to file any application, any appeal in the court. Which court means? The court as explained under section 2(1)(e), that is district court or high court, as the case may be, having the original jurisdiction to deal the subject matter as if it is a subject matter of a civil case before that court. That court will have jurisdiction, right? I think you got my point. A district court or high court having original jurisdiction to decide the subject matter as if it is a civil dispute before that court. That particular court will have jurisdiction to deal all matters of arbitration as explained under section 2(1)(e). I think I have reached. So any other query?
Radhika is asking, sir.
Radhika, can you read? Yeah. Radhika, I have come. Yeah, very good. Radhika, yeah. After LLB, how many years practice need for selecting arbitrator? I said even 10th class is also not required. Even 7th class is also not required. Even a first class is also not required. If both disputing parties agree on certain X person who has no qualification at all, they can very well hand over the dispute to him, but it should be put on paper, and his decision, which is penned in writing, his decision, which is typed and signed by the arbitrator, can have a validity and sanctity of law. It can be enforced as if it is a decree of the civil court. Even Supreme Court cannot question the validity of the award given by the arbitrator on the merits. The arbitrator is the absolute. He can use his complete discretion on the merits and facts of the case. He can go as per his own reasoning and his own reaching of the intelligence on the facts and merits of the dispute. He can give his complete discretion and in the decision. However, what transpired him to reach that decision, that shall be narrated in the arbitrator's award, and that's it. The court cannot find fault with the arbitrator's decision. The court cannot question the arbitrator as to why you have given this particular decision like this, why you have given this wrong decision, why you have given this decision which is very defective and all this. None of the authority has jurisdiction to question the arbitrator's decision, it is absolutely valid. Yeah. And
Thank you very much. I'll take one audio question. Mr. Ibad wants to ask something. Yes, Mr. Ibad.
Good evening, sir.
good evening.
Uh,
Good evening.
I'd like to ask that, say, for example, a party has, gotten an arbitral award. They
Okay.
have received that award. Can they then, you know, pursue litigation in the same matter?
That is called res judicata and res sub judice. Sub judice. That is CPC. What you are asking for, a dispute which is referred to in arbitration and it has gone to the stage of award. Award is passed. He cannot go to the court of law either after passing of the award or even before passing of the award. Also, a party cannot go, because that is a mandate, that is a limitation on the parties. Once they have the arbitration clause or arbitration agreement in their business contract, they can never exercise the court's jurisdiction. There is a on the court's jurisdiction, only the arbitration mechanism has to be exhausted, and it has to tested through the arbitration mechanism only. In the very first slide, and I think second and third slides, I have shown the pendency of the cases. I have shown the time span that is taken by the Indian courts, and even not only India, in many parts of the world, the judiciary is acting at a pace, how the cases are dealt with, the delay and all these things. So the very objective of passing of this arbitration act is to reduce the number of cases, but to reduce the burden of the overburden of the cases, and to provide the speedy resolution of the disputes and speedy mechanism in the noble cause of the administration of justice. That is the very objective of the arbitration, right? A party who has initiated arbitration after passing can never go to the court of law, because that dispute is settled.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay. Does anyone wants to ask a question on audio? Please go ahead if someone wants to ask.
Very Tejaswini Singh has asked a very intelligent question. Can the decision of an arbitrator be taken as precedent in future? Definitely no, because in international commercial arbitration, arbitrators' decisions act as a influencing authority, not as a precedent, So the straight answer is arbitrators' award will not act as a precedent. However, in international arbitration, international commercial arbitration, arbitrator has precedent like influencing authority, but not as a precedent.
Okay, I see there is one person who has raised his hand. The name is not visible. Go ahead and ask the question.
Yeah.
Someone, yeah.
You are welcome. You are most welcome.
Yes,
Uh,
please ask.
yeah. Please ask. You have sufficient time. Mehboob is very generous. He is giving us the plenty of time to have this valuable discussion, and I hope I have reached to your expectations, and I wish Mehboob will definitely organize such the activities of discourses like the any subject of any discipline of any area of law. Definitely we will have the occasion and opportunity to learn together and to get the knowledge of this. Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. It's been a pleasure so far, sir. Okay.
I would like to thank all the participants, each and every participant. I would like to thank for
Yeah.
patiently listening to my information. I will not say that it is a eloquent discourse, but the information what I have given was patiently listened by all the participants. Then for that reason, and not only for that, and they have registered and they have joined here, and they have you know attended to the full session. Almost I am observing in this the Zoom app, almost 50 to no more than 50 participants have attended, and till end I have seen almost all the 50 participants were there. And I would like to particularly thank some of the faculties whom I know. Professor Tausif, who was my colleague, is there as a participant here, and I am thankful to you, sir. And Madhavi, Professor Madhavi from Bangalore, she is also there, and I
Please
thank.
don't thank me, sir.
I
It was a very good session.
I thought your mic was muted.
No,
So
sir, I've been following the entire lecture.
okay, okay. Madam, if you have any query, any question, you can definitely
I'll,
ask.
I'll, I'll just come to that, sir. Let me go back to some previous question. Mr. Shiraz Khizar has asked one question. I'm trying to make it simple. The thing is, if an arbitrator is showing bias to one of the parties, can such arbitration award or such arbitration can be set aside? Can it be set aside?
Okay. See, uh, bias means the bias what is recognized in the arbitration process is not the bias of the, it is the bias of the relationship, it is the bias of the association with the parties, it is the bias of the professional association, it is the bias of the blood relationship, it is the bias of the employment relationship of the arbitrator with the party, not the bias that is favoring on the merits. Arbitrator has absolute authority to favor or disfavor, and it is the complete discretion given by the act. The arbitrator can give any decision he likes. Of course, while writing the award, he has to write the reasons why he has reached that decision, and it is unquestionable, right?
Okay, Amtul Yasmin, your question is not properly framed. If you can write the question properly, that would be good. If you want to use audio, you can do that. I will come to one question from Miss Aisha. She says, "What happens if a party disobeys an order made by an arbitrator?"
Can you repeat? Can you repeat? Yeah.
The question is, what will happen if one party disobeys an order given by the arbitrator?
Okay. So there are two things I want to clarify. The participant is asking about the arbitrator's order. Let the participant not confused with what the participant, what he or she wants to ask. Is it order or is it award?
Award, sir. Award.
Is it award? Okay. So can you repeat the question?
The question is framed like this, sir. Sir, what happens if a party disobeys an order made by arbitrator?
Yes, yes, that is very good. Arbitrators, again you are saying order. Okay. Now when I asked, you said it is order. Okay. It is award. It be. We will discuss both. Arbitrator's order is discussed in section 17. Arbitrator's award can be set aside in section 34. Okay. Arbitrator's order means interim order. Interim order given under section 17, if the party disobeys before 2015, the position was the arbitrator has pen but not teeth. That means he can only order, but he cannot have enforcing mechanism. But after 2015 amendment, the arbitrator's order under section 17 is equal to the order of the civil court if any disobedience, if any disrespect, if any disregard, if any non-compliance of the order under section 17 by the arbitrator, that can be actioned as a contempt of courts in the Contempt of Court Act 1971, as if it is a disobedience and non-compliance of the civil court's order. I think I have given the clarity. Now, arbitrators award under section 34, party can set aside, party can challenge. See, the party has liberty, party has opportunity to challenge that award, to set aside that award, to appeal that award under section 34. And that is in the court. Section 34 application shall be filed in the court. Now, it is for the court to decide whether the award shall be set aside as invalid or the application filed under section 34 to be decided as dismissed. Okay. One more query. I think I have given the answer to that query, Mehboob.
Yes, sir. Next question is there any? Okay, someone is asking a question. Go ahead.
Siraj Khizar is asking, once the arbitrator decided by the parties in the contract.
I have said, sir. I have used that question.
Okay, next one.
Next one is there any limit for amount of money to go for arbitration?
No. Very straight answer, very simple answer, without taking your valuable time. There is no limit of amount. You can take any dispute, any amount of dispute to arbitration. 1,000 crores, 10,000 crores, 5,000 crores, or 1 lakh crores, 1 million crores, any you can take to arbitration. And even the minimum amount is also not prescribed. Okay.
Okay. Next question is, sir, Sai Pawan is asking, can the arbitration order be registered?
Again, you are saying order. Any order, either by the court or either by the arbitrator, the orders are not registered. Okay. Now the award, I think he is confused. He wants to ask the award whether the award is to be registered. Need not be. Award, once it is given, it is certified copy of the award. Generally, certified copy of the, not generally, it should be by the registered post, sent to the addresses of the litigation disputing parties. Both parties shall receive the certified copy of the award, and that is sufficient. And separate registration of the award as a rule of the court was not right. This was the position before 1996 Act has been passed, and in the 1940 Act, that was the rule of the court, that award shall be made as a rule of the court before it can be enforced. But now it is done away. Now no such requirement, because now dispute resolution mechanism is fastened, right? In one more, Khizar Muhammad is asking, is there any fees prescribed? Yes, definitely. Fees means, is it what fees? Arbitrator fees or the court fees? When you are filing in the court, you need to pay court fees. When you are filing before the arbitrator, no fees is required. No fees is required. However, arbitrator's fees is prescribed when the arbitrator is appointed by the court, then arbitrator's fees is prescribed. When the arbitrator or the entire arbitral tribunal is appointed by the tribunal, by the parties, then the arbitrator's fees as prescribed by the arbitrator and as agreed by the parties. Yeah, Khizar is asking court fees. Court will not come into arbitration, my dear. Arbitration is outside the court. It can happen in house, private residence. It can happen in a hotel, restaurant. It can happen in a guest house. It can happen in an open corridor, open room, open ground. It can happen in any private place. It can happen in any community hall. It can happen in any place, not the court, right? Yeah. What is the role of mediation and conciliation relating to arbitration method? Yeah. So mediation and of course conciliation. Conciliation is having the statutory effect and statutory bindingness only when both parties agree on the conciliation settlement terms proposed by the conciliator. And mediation, of course, it has no statutory status. Only in limited areas like family disputes where mediation is made mandatory before they go into certain stages of the dispute. I think we will have one session. Mehboob, I suggest, if all logistics permit, you can take a note of Professor Madhavi, who is expert in personal laws area. And if Madam agrees, definitely we can have a personal law session as well. Mr. Mehboob.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We can do that.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I think what is the time that Zoom permits?
Our account has no limit as such, but I think we will stop it here. It's already 7:50, and uh, let us keep more things for hopefully we will have some session in the future again.
Yeah, yeah.
And
One last question. Without name, that identity has come. I think somebody is asking: is there any process to certify the arbitration order? Yes, definitely. Arbitrator's order means on a simple white paper, the arbitrator will pass the order, and original order he keeps with arbitrator's file with himself, and he gives a certified copy of that order to the party. That is how the arbitrator's order can be certified. And I think if all mics are unmuted, then we can ask as to who is this participant raising that question. Yeah. Yes, Tausif sir, can we unmute Tausif sir?
yes,
Uh,
everyone is allowed to be unmuted. Yeah.
Permission, Mehboob. Tausif, can
Yes,
you
yes.
can you identify the Tausif sir and unmute?
I have no idea whether he has a mic or not, but Tosif.
Tausif,
Okay, okay. Tosif sir is not responding. Yes,
yeah.
Tosif sir, go ahead.
Tausif sir is there. Tausif, Tausif is there. Mr. Tausif, yeah. Tausif,
working. So, well, yes, I am there.
yeah. You have
You are able to hear me.
Yes,
Yes.
we all
Yeah.
hear you, sir.
Yeah. Now I have a big question for our young budding lawyers. That now this COVID has thrown this online opportunities. For example, we have never been using online sessions for presenting seminars and lectures. Now that people are able to use it, the Zoom and other online things. So, can you just explain the procedures for how this can be used for arbitration and all these things?
Yes, definitely.
Opportunities have been raised for this. Yeah.
Very, very relevant to the context we are undergoing and experiencing the current situation in India and across the globe. Now, very intelligent and very reasonable question that as such, even court proceeding, for your kind information, even the court proceedings are taking place online. Now the judges are hearing the cases online. Even the criminal cases, bail applications are also heard online. And this arbitration, yes, not only during COVID, not only in lockdown, but at all times the arbitration can be held through online. It is very convenient way that the arbitrator can have the online proceedings as well, and especially when parties are at international levels. Definitely the media, that online platform is the only mode that connects all the parties, that the arbitrator can definitely have this comfort of having the dispute heard through online. This is permissible, and in fact specific name, and it is called ODR, online dispute resolution, is also one of the methods of ADR, alternative dispute resolutions. Yeah, I think I have reached you.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. So another thing, actually, we were during this COVID procedure, we have also discussed that at the neighborhood level, that is the mohalla level.
Yeah.
a lot of community level counseling is to be done for especially for family disputes and property related and other contractual obligations.
Yes, yes.
So, do you think you can throw some light on this with your experience, conciliation or mediation? What is how we can do it at the neighborhood level, just
Yeah,
on a social welfare basis?
yeah. I will give my suggestion that it can be a counseling. It cannot be a mediation or it cannot be a conciliation, because to have the mediation and conciliation, we need to have a form of dispute between two parties. Now, what are noticing and witnessing that some difficulties in kind of living style, in kind of the home management, in kind of the children management, or the in total the lifestyle and all, and that can be counseled on any aspect of particular aspect of the life and the relationships also, that can be counseled. So a counseling session shall can be of a great great relevance to the present COVID situation.
Yeah, that was great. So
Yes,
I hope if others can also get an opportunity. So I
yes,
think
yes.
it's a vision to not to raise more questions, although I have more questions on internet intellectual property rights, but I will reserve it for some other day.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
you are open to any ask any questions, sir. And we have one more professor here, one um, Syed Muhammad Ghaus. Ghaus is there. Muhammad Ghaus.
I don't know. Mehboob sir, check कीजिए जरा find a participant if Mr. Gao.
Okay, sir. I'm
Ghaus.
checking, sir.
Muhammad Ghaus. Syed Muhammad Ghaus.
I believe he had joined just some time back, or he has
Yeah,
shown his video. No, sir. He is not present right now.
yeah. Okay, no problem. No problem. So, what is the next for us?
There are more questions coming up. If you want to take, you can take, sir.
I can take, no issue. No issue. I can take. So, how? Sirf, yeah. One question is, uh, if matter is compromised between the parties before the arbitrator, whether award required to pay stamp duty. A compromise decree, yes, it shall be a stamp duty requires. Compromise on what amount, that is the deciding factor, how much stamp duty is required, right? Now, Srinivas has asked this query. A matter is compromised before the arbitrator. That compromise is converted into award, and that award requires a stamp duty. Yes, how much stamp duty means, it depends on the how much amount. You need to refer the Stamp Act. Now, yeah, I think.
I think we have come pretty far in this session. It's about 8 p.m. now. Firstly, I would like to thank our honorable speaker Shamiullah sir for giving his so precious time for all of us. And second thing is, I would like to thank all the persons who have attended the what do you say, this webinar today. If someone wants to have, some students want to have some certificate of participation, we'll definitely give that. And you can, some people are asking about the feedback form. You can send your all your feedback to contact@wakilsahab.com. Contact@wakilsahab.com. That's it. We have from my side. I'll ask if Shamiola sir wants to say something.
Um, no particular thing, but once again, I will close this session by saying, this the entire arbitration, the very object is to provide a speedy resolution and less cost, speedy resolution, and with ensuring the relationships between the disputing parties as well, even after the award is passed. That is the very objective of this arbitration. And there is one joke. Not a joke. It's not a joke. In fact, is it permitted?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. See, this is actually this is in the context of speedy resolution and less cost, right? And but one tourist was there. One tourist. The tourist traveling to UK, London, and when he reached London, he experienced he experienced a tooth pain, in his mouth, and very severe tooth pain. And then he approached a dentist there in London. Then the dentist started doing that treatment to extract the tooth. He was preparing to extract the tooth. Before that, the patient asked, "Dear doctor, how much you charge for this extraction of tooth?" Then the doctor said 300 pounds. Then the patient asked, "How much time does it take?" Then the doctor replied, "It's 2 to 3 minutes." Then the patient, without blinking his eyes also, he said, "For only 2 to 3 minutes work, you are charging 300 pounds? Then doctor replied, "If you want, I can do it in 2 to 3 hours also. It is painful. If you agree, I can prolong that also." Then patient said, "No, I want within 2 to 3 minutes." But why I have given this example, even in arbitration also, some arbitrators, have a practice of prolonging the dispute at the cost of the party's money, at the cost of the party's interest, right? And it should not be the case. The arbitration is meant for speedy resolution of disputes and less cost also, right? And I once again thank all the participants, including the faculty members who have participated here. And I definitely fail if I don't thank Mr. Mehboob, who has, with a great objective and interest and purpose, he has organized this event. In future, I hope, he will definitely continue organizing such programs. Thank you all participants, and thank you, Mehboob.
Thank you so much. I just want to say, friends, thank you so much for coming today. Tomorrow we have a talk at 6 p.m. by Professor Dr. Vinod Kumar. He is the head of Department of Law, Usmania University. He is going to speak on the topic reservations in the Constitution of India. And on 2nd September, we have attorney Hridaya Shah. She is an attorney in the USA. She is going to speak how to study LLM in USA. Please do attend. Please be connected. Please follow all our updates. Thank you so much. I am stopping it now. Thank you so much.